Hello, this is Carrie Vacanti with Stampiphany, and I decided to do a quick card today. I decided to just turn on my iPad and just film and see what happens. So I'm taking you along with this experiment. It might be a little scary at times, but I've seen the end of the movie and we'll all come out okay, I promise. What I have here is a glue dot roll, and I'm using that just as a circle. And I used a smoky slate marker because I didn't want to use pencil and have it get trapped under the color. I had tried that before and I didn't like how that turned out. And decided that a smoky slate marker, because it's a light gray, would work a lot better. As I add the water to it, the smoky slate will kind of dissipate and you won't see the line. You can see me adding some leaves here. This little leaf is from the Merry Café stamp set. It's in the holiday mini this year. And I'm adding the leaf, just that's what that circle was for, so I could keep that more in a uniform shape. If I was left to my own devices, I know this would end up to be some kind of like kidney shaped wreath or something. So that circle really helped me keep that uniform shape. Now that I've added the leaves and they're done, I'm just cleaning my stamp here really quick, and then I'm going to use my aqua painter. You can use a paintbrush if you want, or even a blender pen, although it depends on how loose of a look that you're going for. I was really going for a nice watercolory loose look, and that is why I decided to use the aqua painter as opposed to a blender pen. Now if you don't want to use watercolor paper, you could use Whisper White, the thick Whisper White, or the regular white paper, and a blender pen, and that would be totally fine. Just kind of depends on the look that you're going for. The more water that you add to this, the looser those colors are going to be. And my goal here with this first layer of the old olive was I wanted to really get rid of those defined leaf edges. Really wanted it to be very loose and no real heavy or sharp defined lines with that. Once that's all done, I did take my heat tool to that, and I wanted to make sure that the colors didn't mix too much, or also I wanted to have more control over how they mixed, so that's why I wanted to make sure the first layer on the wreath was dry before I added the second layer. And the second layer here, I wanted to play around with a little bit and try a couple ideas. Before I started this particular specific wreath, I had tried another wreath where I tried spraying the image before I stamped it with water, but unfortunately that didn't work like I had wanted it to. And so I decided, okay, what I'm going to try to do this time, instead of spraying it, is maybe I'll just use my aqua painter. And I'm trying to get my stamp to stand there. It got a little bit wet underneath the image, and I'm trying to make sure that it stays on the block. So I've got what do I have? I'm trying to always artichoke. Had to think for a second there. I have some always artichoke, and as you saw me, I used the aqua painter to add a little bit of water to that, but it wasn't doing what I was hoping it would do. I was hoping it would lay it down on the paper in a looser look. Not quite as loose as when I had originally done the old olive, but at least a little bit more watercolor. But all that was really happening is it was kind of getting splotchy, and I was just getting more and more water on the block. So it wasn't really doing what I was hoping it would do. And I tried a couple times to see if I can get work. Like maybe if I don't add quite as much water, maybe that'll work. Yeah, it wasn't going my direction. But, this is what happens. You're playing and you're experimenting. I wouldn't have known that had I not tried it. So when you're using your stuff, playing around with it, try different things, see what works. I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, this isn't doing what I was hoping it would do, so let's try a different tactic. And I went ahead and used my Stampin' Scrub to dry the stamp and decided, okay, we're just going to stamp around in a circle just like I did with the old olive color, and then go back in and add water that way. And that worked for me. That seemed to work really well for me. Adding the water with the aqua painter, using the same technique that I did before. I just didn't go quite as loose with this one as I did with the other one. I let there be more defined lines with this one than I did the first round. You can see me adding just a little bit of extra color there. And then once I'm happy with that, I moved on to my half pearls. I wanted to add these to my wreath, like little hollies or things like that. You could use the Nouveau drops if you wanted to, or I have a little bottle of cherry cobbler. I can't even, it's like an accents type of thing, but I didn't want to use cherry cobbler because real red was my color here, so I really was trying to stay matchy if I could. Here you can see me grabbing my greeting. I'm taking the greeting from the same stamp set. It's the same Merry Café stamp set. And this stamp set is really quite cute, and it coordinates well with our coffee break one in the main catalog and the designer series paper that goes with that. I wanted to make sure I got my image is straight, and I also knew that because I was using watercolor paper, there was a chance that when I stamped the greeting originally, because of the texture of the watercolor paper, it wouldn't stamp a clear, crisp image the first time around. And that's why I grabbed my Misty. I'm just taking the greeting right here and trying to line it up to see if I can and get that perfect on the inside. You can use whatever black color that you want to use. You could even use always artichoke. I was trying to stay away from real red because there's red in the background and red accents around the wreath, and I didn't want the greeting to just disappear inside the wreath. I wanted it to stand out, so I felt black would do the best because it would pop. I did struggle a little bit getting this on here. At first, when I was inking this up, I was kind of scared of getting ink all over in the negative spaces that I didn't want to get it. Sometimes that happens with the photopolymer. If the image is not super deep on your photopolymer, you will get some ink in the negative spaces, especially if you squish your ink pad into your ink. So when I'm inking up, I was really working hard to try to just get the words. However, I did get a little bit on the inside of the C on Christmas, and if you have that happen, one thing that I found that works really well is to grab a blender pen and just pick it up with that blender pen. I think I ended up stamping this maybe 4 times. I don't know. I struggled with it, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to do this differently next time. I think partly a lot of it has to do is because I was so chicken about inking it up. I was so overly worried about getting the ink in there. I did end up getting it to look pretty good. And the only problem is later on, when I was messing with it, I accidentally smudged the Merry Christmas really bad. I know that's happened to other people too, and it's so annoying. It's I was like, really? Come on now. I was limited on time, and I knew if I was going to do this, I was going to have to remake the wreath again, which I didn't mind doing. I really enjoyed making the wreath. So I did end up remaking the wreath and restamping the inside, but then I took my heat tool to the black just to make sure that it would dry, which was really wild because the archival black dries really fast. So I'm not really sure where I went wrong with that one, why it just didn't dry this time. Maybe it's because I add so many layers of the ink. I don't know. However, I did just whenever I made that wreath again. And now I'm just making the bow. And the bow, this is kind of my favorite way to make bows, is to just take a couple of loops and tie them together, like bunny ears is what I like to call them, and just adjust it to where it just tie it in a knot, and just keep messing with it till it's the size that you want it to be. Once I have that done, it's going to be pretty easy. I'll just use a glue dot to put that on the top. And this is the back of the designer series paper. I think the Around the World designer series paper is so pretty, and it's actually on sale right now. I think it might be one of the papers that's on sale. There's a sale right now, buy 3 get 1 free. So go check it out and see which ones are on sale. Some of them from the Holiday Mini, and there's even a few from the main catalog. So if you like designer series paper, this is definitely time to stock up on a few of your favorites. Now that I have that stuck, I decided that I wanted to add another layer of cardstock, just a quick layer. I decided to do real red. I just cut that to 3 by 3 since my wreath piece was a 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And I think this still made the card pretty simple and pretty quick. I think you really could make several of these and it wouldn't be far-fetched thing to do for Christmas cards if you have a bunch you want to make. And you can tell on the back that's just a piece of scrap because that was my wreath that I remade. So watch where you put your fingers so you don't smear things. I tell you, I'm a slob when I'm stamping. It's in there. It's innate in my character, I guess. Adding my bow was pretty easy. Like I said, I just used a glue dot, which is one of my favorite adhesives to use because it's just so quick and easy. Now, if you're adding something like this, but your glue dot is a little bit larger, you can always fold it over, just kind of roll it up just a little bit, and it'll stick just fine. And that bow, I think, adds nice little pop and texture to the front so it's not so flat. Now that we got that done, we're ready for the last step, and that is to add all of my little half pearls. Now the half pearls are really smooth, so I don't think they should harm your marker tip too bad. I do know the rhinestones, if you color those, which can be done, I would be very careful using your marker on those, as the rhinestones do have rough edges and that could harm the tip of your marker. So I do have some that I just use for rhinestones, so that way if the tip gets damaged, I still have a good marker that I can color with and blend with and is not damaged. Just adding my little pearls. I think I added, I don't know, like 7 or 9. Always add things in odd numbers. It's more aesthetically pleasing when you do it that way, but still pretty quick. Once those are all added and I am happy with the arrangement, the card here is pretty much done. I look around your stamps and see little images like this are easy to do in a wreath typically, and usually pretty fun, and it gives you another idea that you can get more life out of your stamps. I really hope you enjoyed the card for today, and we'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day.